Listeners beware, you're in for a scare. Howdy folks, welcome to Nightmare on Fear Street. I am your host, Zach.
And I'm your other host, Meg.
And we talked about frickin' vampires this week.
Yes, finally!
Oh my god, I love vampires.
Me too.
So Meg, how was your spooky week?
My spooky week was alright. I have got a couple of animation commissions that I'm working on right now, and I'm not allowed to talk about them, but it's good because money is always good, and I like to get paid to do things. And also, I have watched. I've been watching a lot of TV lately.
Anything good?
Oh, this morning I watched the movie Colossal with Jason Sudeikis and Anne Hathaway.
Did you like it? It's amazing, isn't it?
It's a great movie.
It's a great monster movie.
Yeah, it is, and it's also like the best sort of low-budget monster movie I've seen in a while.
I love it. It was so good.
It's a great film. I will not spoil anything about it because you really have to go into it blind.
It was kind of like when I saw Arrival.
Yeah, it's got a lot of twists. And what else? I've been watching the show People of Earth.
I couldn't really get into it, but I'm pretty sure.
I just love it because I'm full on, like, sometimes I'm just like a real tinfoil hat person. A lot of the times I'm like ironically into conspiracy theories, but sometimes I fall too deep into the hole and I'm like, guys, the Nordics took me up to the ship and they put a chip in my brain and I can talk to whales now, you know?
You're just like, I just imagine the scene from Signs where you're just sitting on the couch with your family and they all have the tin hats on.
Yes, that's what I'm going to be like with my children when I have them. Yeah, but other than that, I've been reading as well. I've powering through the book Kraken by China Miéville. I am the world's slowest reader. I started reading that book way back in April, and I haven't finished it yet. And then, like an idiot, I went out and bought 3 more books. I bought the Reformed Vampire Support Group by Catherine Jinks, and I bought John Dies at the End by David Wong, and its sequel, This Book is Full of Spiders, Put It Down Right Now. I've seen the movie, and it was very good, but I bought the book expecting it to be a lot thinner than it was, and when I looked at it, when I opened the package, I was like, oh no, I'm never going to get to the end of this.
Well, you know the ending.
My ADHD hell brain will not let me.
But you already know the ending. John dies at the end. Or does he?
Or does he? Yeah. Ooh. I like that title because it really throws you a curveball. Because does he die? Does he not die? It's kind of up in the air. Anyway, how was your spooky week, Zach?
It was a super journey, actually. By the time this episode's released, I'll have that episode out about how I went to Comic-Con and met R.L. Stein, so...
I was going to make a joke about, like, I didn't know where you were going with it was a journey, and I hoped that it was going somewhere where I could be like, was the real R.L. Stein within you the whole time? Did you discover that at the end of your journey or something like that?
That just sounds like a Goosebumps twist, like he, like, pops out of my chest.
It does. Like, you look in the mirror, it's like you look in the mirror and your face is R.L. Stein and you scream and that's the end of the episode.
I feel like what would happen is I'm going around having dinner with some friends and all of a sudden I start convulsing and R.L. Stein just pops out of my chest. And that's how R.L. Stein stays perpetually young because he has not aged. It's kind of weird.
Or maybe he read the same book that we did, which is called How to Be a Vampire.
It makes sense. He has a flesh supply of blood from young readers.
That's what happens to all of his editors. That's why nobody's ever caught the full stops instead of commas thing that he does, because he kills the editors for their blood, because he's a vampire.
Or he gets rid of all the Goosebumps knockoffs.
Maybe that's why we can't find Margaret Clark. Maybe it's like Highlander and all of the, like, 90s spooky kid-lit authors have to, like, fight each other until there's only one.
I mean, Christopher Pike writes under a pen name, so that could not be the real Christopher Pike. It's just R.L. Stein writing.
It's always R.L. Stein. It's always been R.L. Stein.
So other than that, I've been reading a lot of books. I actually picked up the Dragonlance series my friend Hendel gave me. It was made when D&D was super big and popular in the 80s, and it is literally a D&D campaign that someone wrote. as in book form, and it feels like a D&D.
When I went to buy my Dungeon Master's Guide, we have a really great fantasy bookstore here in Sydney called Galaxy.
So I'm gonna be like moving to Australia now. So see you soon.
They used to be a lot bigger, but they had to downsize. But they still have a pretty good range. They have a whole section dedicated to books based on games, and that's not just video games. That's any kind of games. So you can find like people basically write like Dungeons and Dragons fanfic, White Wolf fanfic. You know,
Call of Cthulhu fanfic. I've read those.
Have you ever played the Call of Cthulhu board game Arkham Horror?
Yeah, I actually have it downstairs. I have all the expansions.
I have it. I bought it because when I was in London with Henry, we found it in a bar that we went to, and we played it for like 3 hours, and we were all like, it was real late at night, and we'd both been drinking, and we probably didn't play by the right rules, but God, we had a great time.
Yeah, because that's one of those games where you play against the board.
Yeah, and it's also one of the games where you can just kind of make up the rules as you go along if you don't understand the real ones.
Speaking of making up the rules, how to be a vampire.
How to be a vampire. You know what? So, we read the book, How to Be a Vampire from the Ghost of Fear Street series.
What is your favorite vampire?
It's so hard for me to choose because, like, vampires, like, I've always been obsessed with vampires. Like, I can remember going to the library when I was about 6 or 7 years old and getting the, they used to do these, I don't know what publisher it was, but they're like a publisher of educational kids books. And they used to do these like kids versions of classic literature where it was basically the whole book, but it's
illustrated?
It's illustrated, but it's also got like annotations along the side so you can like understand the language and the context that the book was written in.
Meg, did it have like an orange cover to it, like a spine to it, and it said classic books?
No, it was a white. It's a white cover. Their logo is a D and a K and a picture of a book.
We had those. We had those.
Yes, I had the one of I've probably still got the one of Frankenstein somewhere, but when I was a little kid, I found the one of Dracula in my school's library, and I like burned through it in an afternoon, and ever since then, it's just been vampires all my life.
For me, I don't like the book of Dracula, but I love the Bela Lugosi version of Dracula. I can't stand journal format.
Really?
I just find it boring because you switch to so many perspectives, which I guess is...
I like it. I liked it. I mean, like, I have never enjoyed another book that's written like that, but I like Dracula.
I mean, that's perfect. I mean, Dracula's really cool. Like, he is, like, super suave, and, oh my god. Like, I like the Bela Lugosi version, but have you ever watched the Spanish version of Dracula?
Some people say it's better.
Technically, it is considered better. From a filmmaking standpoint, it's much more...
I've seen didn't that come out before the American one, though? Didn't it come out in like 1920 something?
No. So what they did was they filmed both of the movies on the same sets. So they would film Bela Lugosi's Dracula during the day, and then at night the Spanish crew would come in and... The
Spanish vampires would come out and... Yeah. I've seen, probably my favorite adaptation of Dracula is probably Nosferatu, though.
I mean, yeah. Actually, you know, the funniest thing about this, I think my favorite is Fright Night. Fright Night vampires are the best.
I also love the movie Shadow of the Vampire with Willem Dafoe.
Oh my god, that movie is amazing.
If anybody's not heard of this movie, it is a fantastic piece of cinema from, I think, 2000 or 2001. It's an extremely fictionalized version of the making of the movie Nosferatu, which basically asks viewers the question, what if German expressionist film director F.W. Murnau had actually hired a real vampire that he just found in a castle somewhere to play Dracula / Count Orlok in Nosferatu. And Willem Dafoe is the vampire, and John Malkovich is the director, and it's a great movie. I've seen it about 25 times, probably. I have it on DVD.
I think I've seen it about 5 times. It's such a great movie. And same as with And Gods and Monsters, the one with Ian McKellen, where he plays James Wales, and they're talking about how he made Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein.
I only hope that in because of the meme of Nick Cage is really a vampire, that sort of like recurring joke, I really hope that in 100 years' time they make a spiritual remake of Shadow of the Vampire, but they update the setting and make it about how Nicolas Cage was really a vampire and Vampire's Kiss was like his autobiographical film.
Speaking of making up the rules, how to be a vampire.
I liked this book a lot, and that's not just because it had vampires in it. I thought it was a very funny book.
I agree with you there. I think it's actually one of the most interesting vampire books I've read in a long time. It's a lot different than like trying to read like Interview with a Vampire.
I liked it because it reminded me so fondly of the TV series Young Dracula. And I don't know if did you get that show in the States?
Nope.
Because that show was my life for a period of time when I was in like middle school. They used to play it on ABC at like 6 o'clock in the morning, so I would get up and watch it while I was eating my breakfast. Like they'd play, this was after it had finished, and they were just playing reruns of it. And this book is very like tonally similar to that show, in that like the main character of Young Dracula is the son of Count Dracula, and his name is also Vlad.
Is it Vlad or is it Alucard?
Just Alucard. You don't really think about how cheesy that name is until you take a step back.
No, it's Dracula spelled backwards.
Yeah, his name is Vlad, and his father is Count Dracula, and he has a sister who, very much like the older sister in this book, thinks he's a loser and is always mean to him. And also, like the main character of this book, he's got a friend who's obsessed with vampires and really wishes that he was a vampire, but, you know, Vlad is turning into a vampire and he doesn't want to be a vampire. So this book was basically like Young Dracula.
The funny thing about this book reminded me a lot of Fright Night 2. It's exactly like Fright Night 2.
Now, I think in another episode of this show, you told me that there was a Fright Night 2, and I was like, there was a Fright Night 2? Or something like that. Now, I may be wrong about this, but there was a direct-to-video Fright Night sequel that had Jamie Murray, a.k.a. H.G. Wells from Warehouse 13, a.k.a. woman from Dexter, the British one from, like, season 5.
Yeah, that's her. She's the main vampiress, and she's the one that turns him into a vampire, so, like...
She's, like, Jerry Danridge's sister or something?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think I found this online somewhere when I was like really into Warehouse 13, and I was like looking through Jeremy Murray's entire filmography. I was like, oh, she was in some direct-to-video Fright Night sequel. Ew.
But it's actually a really good Fright Night sequel. That's the weird thing.
I may be thinking of a different Fright Night sequel.
Because in this one, he gets bitten by the vampire, so he starts becoming a vampire, and the exact same tropes of like him eating garlic pizza. And like things like weird, like I don't want to be a vampire. It's a really good, surprisingly, it's a really great movie. I have it on VHS. So this week, guys, we read How to Be a Vampire by R.L. Wait a second, this wasn't written by R.L. Stine.
This one was ghostwritten.
Yes. So for people that don't know what ghostwritten is, it's where someone just assumes the name of the author and writes it, but looking at the cover, it doesn't say R.L. Stine wrote it. It just says R.L. Stine's Ghost of Fear Street. So technically, it's not false advertisement.
He owns the brand. And who is I was actually a little bit surprised. Like, you told me that this was ghostwritten before I actually read it. And when I read it, I was like, this is the best ghostwriter that the world has ever known. Because whoever they are got R.L. Stine's, like, particular writing style perfectly imitated.
So if you open the cover, it tells you it was written by Kate McCullen.
All right.
And she's written a bunch of children's books. So I recommend some of them because they look really fun.
So, let me just get the cover. My cover is the new one.
There's a new... Oh, okay. You have like the weird emo kid
Yeah,
one?
I actually really like it. Well, you talk about yours first.
So for mine, I have a really great, like a painting of a kid holding up a book that says vampires, and behind him is I want to say like a dollar store like stock photo of a person in a vampire outfit. So he's got like the slick back hair, he's got literally the Inverness cape that's red and black, and he's coming after the kids like, I'm gonna suck your blood, blah blah.
Yeah, and it's got the R.L. Stine's Ghost of Fear Street like super edgy bright neon yellow logo up the top, and all the the jaggedy stuff around the side. I really don't like the Ghosts of Fear Street covers compared to the Goosebumps ones, because, I mean, you're never going to beat Tim Jacobus, in my eyes. Like, that's totally a personal bias, because, you know, art is subjective, but I just like Tim Jacobus better. And also, this is just, like, the colors are really bright. Sometimes it just seems a little bit goofy. It seems a little bit like, whoa, edgy 90s kids, let's go down to the mall and ride our skateboards, and... My version of the cover is a little bit more subdued, actually significantly more subdued. You have a boy with, who I assume is meant to be the main character because he's got red hair. And the main character of this book has red hair. And he's got red hair.
Or he's a Weasley.
No, he's not. His name is... God, what's his name? I read this yesterday.
Andrew Weasley?
No, his name is Andrew... Anyway, let me describe this cover. So he's standing against like a Victorian damask wallpaper background with all this like shiny stuff on it, and there's a red light coming up from behind him, and he's got bright red glowing eyes, purple skin, and you can just see the little bit of a fang, and he's wearing a cape, and he's got a book called How to Be a Vampire clutched to his chest, and he's kind of giving us the Tony Perkins in the end of Psycho look from underneath his eyebrows. I really like this cover. I think it's very cool. It's very, like, ominous. The way he's looking at you is kind of like, yeah, I dare you to read this book.
Such an edgelord. It's just manga.
You open it up and it's an anime. I don't know how, no, it would be a manga because... Anime is animated. Anyway, so Andrew has an older sister named Emily, who is described as loving to wear pleated skirts and fake pearls, and as I often do on this show.
But Meg, we forgot the most important part of this book.
What?
The puns.
Oh, what's the tagline on the front, Zach? Because my version doesn't have one.
It's a big pain in the neck.
Oh, boy.
And the sequel to that, one morning Andrew woke up undead. It reminds me of that Scary Movie 3 joke where the guy's explaining, like, his friend went to bed dead but woke up alive.
There's no such thing as a killer videotape. Oh. Hell yeah, there is. In fact, I know somebody can definitely help you with that.
You do? Who?
Wait up, man. I heard Jamal from 90th Street. He watched that tape last week. And this morning he woke up dead.
How the hell do you wake up dead?
Because you're alive when you go to sleep.
Wait, just tell me you can
So you
help
telling me that you can go to bed dead and wake up alive?
You can't go to bed dead, man. That shit would be redundant.
Just tell me
No,
who.
it wouldn't. Because you can go to bed and not be dead, and you can die but not be in a bed.
But you are in the bed, man. That's how you wake up dead in the first place, fool.
Damn! That's some quantum shit right there, man.
Talking about?
You should be teaching classes. You stay dropping out.
Actually, no, I'm lying. I've seen Scary Movie 1. I like Scary Movie 3 better, but that's probably because I saw it when I was 10, and that's kind of like the mindset that you have to be in for Scary Movie to be funny. Life was pretty average for Andrew until the morning he woke up undead. First, there were bite marks on his neck. Then he tried to eat garlic, but that didn't work out so well. And now he's got this weird urge to sleep upside down. Andrew's kind of excited about being a vampire. He'll get to fly, stay up all night, and totally scare his sister. But when he meets his vampire teacher, Andy realizes that being a vampire isn't all it's cracked up to be.
First there were bite marks on his neck. Then he ate garlic. Yick. And now he's got this weird urge to sleep upside down. Now that Andrew's mind's turning into a vampire, he'll be able to stay up all night, fly, and scare his silly sisters asleep. Cool! But then Andrew meets his vampire teacher, one really scary guy. Andrew isn't ready for a lesson on how to sleep in the coffin or how to drink blood. But he does have a choice? What?
But does he have a choice?
He doesn't have a choice.
So Andrew tries to scare his sister with the help of his friend TJ, who loves vampires a lot.
I just thought of like a young version of TJ Miller.
I was imagining, because of this book's similarities with Young Dracula, I was imagining the kid, like the friend from Young Dracula. Because in the show Young Dracula, Vlad the son has a friend named Robin who is obsessed with vampires, and he's got like that kind of 2003 emo haircut, and he's always wearing a cape. Like all the time he's wearing a cape. And it's like, it's not even like a nice one. It's one of those like cheapo ones that you get at the dollar store.
You mean the best capes?
And he's always wearing it. And that's what I imagine TJ looking like.
For me, I thought of like Andrew as like a young like Ryan Reynolds, and then TJ Miller. Andrew's
sister Emily is older than him, but not really.
Bossier.
Yeah, she's very bossy. She thinks everything that he does is dumb. But she is described as liking to wear pleated skirts and fake pearls. And like, once again, R.L. Stine female characters have like the best looks.
I thought she was Marge Simpson.
I just imagined her as Marina Diamandis of Marina and the Diamonds.
I have no clue what that is.
Oh, it's a pastel goth alternative pop reference that probably only half of the listeners are gonna get, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff that Marina Diamandis wears. She wears like pleated skirts, and she has that like bleached hair and like a bow, and that's who I was picturing. every female character in R.L. Stine books has like clothes that I would wear, and I don't know what that says about me. It probably says that I haven't grown up properly and my mind is perpetually stuck in the 90s.
Or you can just live in Seattle where it's perpetually
Yeah.
is the 90s.
So they try to scare Emily, and when they go home, Andy has a nightmare that somebody climbs in through his window, and he wakes up the next day and he finds he's got 2 bite marks on his neck, and there's a book under his bed called How to Be a Vampire.
And it's super cold. Like, you can't touch it.
Yeah, it's super cold, like he feels like it was in the fridge for a long time.
And he just thinks TJ just pulled an awesome prank on him.
But he opens it up, and there's nothing written on it.
Nope. And then, because of Etch-a-Sketch magic, it starts to appear. Because
Mystical magic, invisible ink.
I solemnly swear him up to no good.
But he didn't have to say that to read the book. He didn't have to say a code word. He just had to open it. Over the course of the next couple of days, he has various, he keeps going back and forth about whether or not he thinks he's really turning into a vampire.
Like, he's super pale. He's red lips.
Yeah, he's red lips. The funniest part in this book is when they're on the bus and TJ says, Andrew, I think you're turning into a clown. Like, they build it up like he's gonna say, he's like, oh, I don't know, I woke up this morning and I was really pale and my lips are really flush and I don't understand what's going on. And then he said, he said something like,
I know what's happening. I know everything.
He knew he knew immediately what TJ was gonna say. And then TJ says, Andrew, I think you're turning into a clown. I laughed so hard at that, because
I have a joke from that. Someone was like, no, Andrew didn't find the creepy clown costume that turns him into a clown.
I was thinking of, I don't know if you've seen this, but there was a, screen cap of a Craigslist posting that was making the rounds a while back, that was, I'll see if I can find it. Hold on.
Is it the one like, well, I'll hire to follow my son
No,
around?
it's, I'll read it out to you. It's the funniest thing. I think about this post all the time.
Oh, while you're doing that reminds me of a joke. I was working, and this little girl was coming up to me. I was talking to her, and she wanted to be a clown. They wanted to go to clown college, and she was like super getting excited. And I was like, the best part about being a clown is that you get to all pile in the car and save so much money because you all clown pool.
Aww.
And she gave me a hug.
So cute. Anyway, here, I found it. Okay, this is the best Craigslist posting I've ever seen, and this is what I immediately thought of when TJ said, Andrew, you're turning into a clown. Comic book artist, internet. I am writing a comic book based on my story, Clown White, ... It is a murder mystery on a world where clowns are real. There are issues of racism and homophobia that are addressed in an indirect way, like fiction often does. Circus clowns have a higher place in society than party clowns. This doesn't mean all circus clowns work in the circus. Senator Jingle Snout is a Republican U.S. senator, and then in brackets, a circus clown. Transgender is addressed. Buzz O'Brien, is a cop. He is human despite being born a clown. I have had several artists assigned to assist me, ... Time has been a major issue with a few, poor quality of work, an issue with others. I am planning on putting the first 20 panels on Kickstarter to fund what would be a 10 to 12 issue, which would be available online. My idea would be to collect those into a graphic novel, which would be sold either as a digital or hard copy. I am not looking for the best artist in the world, but the first few panels include Life the Clown in a tub, and then in brackets, no naughty bits showing. This is not gratuitous. I want to establish that these are real clowns and that life is very pretty. So the ability to draw the human form is essential. I understand this is choppy and quickly put together, ad. Please don't judge the project by it. I want to hit several topics in a few lines. If you might be interested, please write me a copy of your work. Steven.
Why aren't you doing that, Meg? Why don't you draw clown comics?
See, there's no... I don't know if this is still... I don't know when this was posted. There's no date, so I don't know if this is still open. I mean, would I like to make a comic about a world where clowns are real? Yes, I would. I would love to do that.
And racists?
That's... that is immediately what came into my mind, because I think about that all the time. It's one of the funniest Craigslist posts I've ever seen in my life.
I can see how that can go south really quickly with that comic.
Yeah.
What about mimes? What happens with mimes in that universe?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh my god. Hard-hitting journalism.
What happened to Steven? What is the status of his clown comic? The world needs to know. So anyway, they get to school, and Andrew is sort of going over in his mind, does he think he's turning into a vampire? Does he not? And TJ is like, oh, this is awesome. You gotta be a real vampire, and then you gotta turn me, and then we'll be vampire buddies, and we'll...
High five me. Fang me,
yeah.
bro.
And then at lunchtime, he gets a big ol' serving of spaghetti bolognese because it's red.
Yeah, and he's like super hungry, so he starts eating. It's like yum, yum, yum.
Slurping up the sauce with his garlic bread, but he doesn't know that it's garlic bread, so he puts it in his mouth, and he starts choking.
Yeah, no, it's just because it's awful cafeteria food.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I was thinking, why? It's obviously because you got the spaghetti bolognese. I didn't get school lunches when I was in high school. I brought packed lunches. Like, of all of the, like, school, like, the other schools that I went to in primary school, and also any of the school camps that I went on, I have never been to, like, a school lunch spaghetti bolognese.
So I can tell you what it tastes like. Just imagine styrofoam. That's about it. It's just styrofoam painted red. Yeah.
Real wet, overcooked noodles with bolognese sauce that just tastes like bits of cardboard floating in ketchup.
So it's TJ's like, oh my God, you're choking. What do I do? And he starts like figuring it out until he figures out, like, I guess I could do the Heimlich maneuver, which if you've ever done the Heimlich maneuver, which I have yet to have the pleasure of doing, he does it completely wrong.
Yeah.
He just punches Andrew in the stomach. And the bread falls out.
And then he drinks some water and he's okay. And he chalks it up to the butter on the bread being spoiled or something like that.
Okay, well, how does that even work? You're choking to death.
Yeah, like, how would you, like, if you ate butter that was spoiled, it would just make you throw up later. It wouldn't make you have, like, a severe anaphylactic reaction.
No, because Andrew's an idiot. Because remember, his nickname is Android?
Yes.
Then again, his entire performance in this is very robotic, so...
And so then later the bus breaks down before it goes over the bridge.
Yeah, so Andrew's like, that's weird. Oh, wait, vampires can't cross open water.
Now, I forgot to say the other movie that I watched in the past week was Raw.
Is that the one about the cannibal?
The French cannibal movie. And...
I've heard great things about it.
That was still, it's a great movie. But anyway, that movie must have still been in my mind because what I assumed was going to happen in the scene where the bus breaks down is that the bus driver was going to, like, go out and try to fix the engine and, like, get his hand caught in the engine or something and, like, cut it open, and then Andrew was going to come out and drink his blood. But I guess that's too dark for Goosebumps.
I'm sorry, there's only so much metal that you can have in a Fear Street book.
I mean, this is Ghost of Fear Street. It's not 3 edgy 5 me like the actual Fear Street books.
Well, if this was now, Andrew would just murder the entire bus and then he'd wake up covered in blood. That's
the book that I want to read. I mean, that's essentially just like The Lost Boys, isn't it, though? Like, this is just like a baby version of The Lost Boys.
Or like, okay, this is what I thought of. Like, what if it was like, if he was bitten by any other type of vampire, like 30 Days a Night? Oh my God.
Oh, that would suck.
That would suck. Actually, I had a weird dream last night where I thought, for some reason I was dreaming about this book, was that Andrew got bitten by the Count from Sesame Street and he started turning into like a Muppet. Well, as we've proven in this, apparently, that vampires can control the weather in this. So, stuff like that happens. I guess like a little bus stopping.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly like easy. I think because of the tone of this book, there's sort of like, is he a vampire or is he not a vampire? They're trying to like keep it ambiguous for a while until much later in the book. And I thought maybe, if he just got kind of like ripped out of the back of the bus, like the bus just left and he was like still frozen in the same spot and the bus kept going and he was like outside of the bus, that would be harder to explain.
Well, that'd be funny because it's kind of like PS2 graphics with lag, like you're just stuck there, and like the bus just keeps going, goes right.
Yeah.
Meg, did you ever watch the movie Martin from George Romero? Rest in peace, George Romero.
That's one of those movies that people keep telling me to watch, but I can't find it anywhere.
It's really hard to find, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of like those movies where it's like, is he really a vampire, or is he?
Yeah, well, like Vampire's Case.
So that's what I was thinking of this movie. Then again, I had George Romero on the brain. So
yeah. So Yeah, like, the thing that I liked about this book is that every time he has something happen to him that could be considered, like, evidence of him being a vampire, it's, for the first few times, it's sort of, like, written off. Like, he gets, and then the next thing that happens to him is he gets really badly sunburned when he's riding his bike to school the next day.
Yeah, and well, I mean, who doesn't get badly sunburnt?
You think about it, you think about it, he's a redhead. Like, he's described as having auburn hair and lots of freckles. So, maybe it was just a very sunny day, and he got burned. And then, like, later on, he's followed by a pack of dogs.
I thought of the Invader Zim episode, like, where they start turning into
Oh, where they turn
bologna.
into sausages?
Yeah. They're the dogs. They're after us. And then they start, like, turning into bologna.
And at the end, they are just sausages.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about these dogs.
Yeah. So, but then they explain that he's got, like, a biscuit in his pocket, and the dogs probably smelled it. So it's like, I like that they sort of build it up, and it's, because oftentimes books for really young kids, I mean, I say really young kids, but, like, the 8 to 12 age range, books for younger kids, the authors kind of are like,
Yeah, he's a vampire.
It's like we said with Say Cheese and Die. They kind of hit you over the head with it. Like, guys, it's the camera.
Guys, he's a vampire.
It'd be like if this book, it'd be like, guys, Andrew's a vampire.
Guys, did you know that?
He's a vampire. He's a vampire, guys. Did you get it?
The one thing I'm surprised they didn't do was, in this book, they didn't have, like, he looks in the mirror and he's not there.
I felt like that would have been too obvious, though.
Yeah, but it could have been like, oh, this must have been, like, a trick mirror.
Speaking of, like, the whole idea of, like, trick, this is just a trick mirror. There's a bit in the book where he's like, oh, how come the page didn't have any words on it before, but now it does? Maybe the book has microchips in it. And that just made me think of the bit in Jumanji, where, like, in the 60s, they put the board game out and all of the pieces fly to the starting space. And, Alan and I always forget the woman's name, look at each other, and Alan's like, oh, it must have magnets in it. And then when
the kids do it,
the kids in the 90s find the board game and they open it up and the pieces fly into the spots, Kirsten Dunst is like, oh, it must be microchipped or something. And it's like, I get that they did that to, like, express the fact that, like, hey, this is the 90s, it's not the 60s, we're technological now, we've got computers. But how does, like, having a microchip in something, like, it would make sense if it was a magnet. Like, a kid would look at that and still think, oh, it's magnetized. They wouldn't automatically think it's computers.
People are weird. And also, like, I really wish that they had a Jumanji set that actually was magnetized, because I would play.
Oh, that would be awesome. Like, it would take, like, 3 seconds to install that into a board game.
I'd be totally fine with that.
Honestly, like, how expensive is a magnet?
Well, I mean, it would have to be a motorized magnet, so, because if you want to move it across the board.
Oh, but when you think about it, it's not that hard to pull something away from a magnet. It's, like, it holds, and then you can just pull it off. Yeah, so, like, if you want to move the piece, you just have to pull it off the magnet and move it around. But then it would fly back to the start. So you're right. That would have been a logistical nightmare. So he gets a bad sunburn, and so the TJ is like, I have a solution for this. You can still go out into the sun sometimes, but once you're a full-on vampire, you will die instantly. You will crumble into dust. And so he goes to the lost property bin and he collects up, like, every hoodie and hat and pair of sunglasses that he can find, and they just pile it on Andrew, and Andrew's like, I look like an idiot. I am going to go into class, and the teacher is going to think that I'm an exchange student from Mars. And that just made me think of, I don't know if you watch Preacher, but it just made me think of Cassidy walking around with, like, the rice patty hat and the poncho.
No, I was thinking of, like, Sideways Stories from the Wayside School with the dead rat and all the clothing.
Oh, yes! The kid that's, like, a dead rat with a bunch of shirts on.
Yeah.
I'd totally forgotten that.
I remember it. I remember everything.
You do. Your memory is like a bear trap, and then here's me like, oh, what's this kid's name from the book that I read yesterday?
I can tell you weird statistics.
Anyway, I was kind of, this book sort of reawakened, my obsession for vampires that I had when I was a kid. Like, a very specific, like, if I had read this book as a kid, I would have been like, yes, and I would have been reading it thinking, Andrew, you are ungrateful. You are an ungrateful little bastard.
You don't have the dark gift. You don't deserve it.
You do not have the dark gift. You do not have what it takes. I deserve this more than you. Because I can remember being a kid, and, like, the first time I watched The Lost Boys, I was like, yeah, be one of them, Michael. Be be one of them.
Meg, would you make a good vampire?
Yes, obviously. And I feel like it would be very easy to be a vampire this day and age compared to like what it would have been before, because it's more socially acceptable to work nights, or you could be a freelancer and work from home, which I do. Like, this kid is going, I don't want to drink human blood. I don't want to have to hunt people. Okay, first of all, a human being can only consume up to about 4 liters of water, 4 liters of any liquid in one go. Like, that's the capacity of your stomach. That's, if you drink from, like, multiple people, you don't have to just kill one person, which is one thing that I've never, like, understood that why vampires don't get. Like, dude, they would stop, like, people would not be able to find you if you just, like, found a bunch of weirdos on Craigslist, like, put up an ad on Craigslist. I want to bite you and drink your blood. I need, like, 3 people. That's hot. And, like, you get, like, 3 people to do it, bite 3 people, and then just let them go, and they get different people all the time, and, like, make them sign a non-disclosure agreement to never tell anybody.
Or you use Grindr. Simple.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's also, like, people that are willing to be vampire victims.
No, definitely. And the second thing about me being obsessed with vampires as a kid, the second thing that, like, sparked this was I remember being, I don't know, I was maybe 10 years old, and I turned on the TV one morning, and I don't know why they were playing this at, like, 10 o'clock on a Saturday, but there was this documentary about the real-life vampire subculture.
The vamp culture.
It's like it's the vamp culture. They call themselves sanguinarians.
They drink blood. I know that.
And they like they'll either use a needle or like a knife to give them a little cut, and then they drink the blood that way, or they'll drink blood from animals that they just like go to the butcher shop and buy. But anyway, like, I watched this real-life, like, sanguinarian vampire subculture documentary when I was 10 years old. So I was, like, my impressionable young mind was in, like, you know, like, normal people think, oh, the first time like, the first images that I ever saw that, like, were my sexual awakening was, like, watching Red Sonja or, like, Slave Princess Leia or, I don't know, what's a male one?
Conan,
or, like, watching something that makes you realize, oh, sex is a thing. Like, I have, you know, boys don't have cooties, or girls don't have cooties, do they? You know, like,
hubba.
The thing that makes you think that, for me, it was watching this, like, this documentary with all of these, like, dark-clad people with loads of piercings and tattoos, like, moshing in the basement of a building and, like, biting each other, and I was like, oh, that's what I want. That's what I want my life to be. Yeah, I was really obsessed with vampires when I was a kid.
So you would do anything to be a vampire?
To the point that I tried to convince my classmates that I was one I would, like, when I got dropped off at school, I would, like, run around the back to the mulberry bush that we had at my primary school. I would pick a bunch of mulberries, which in retrospect, mulberry juice doesn't even look like blood. It's, like, purple. But I would pick a bunch of mulberries, squish them up in my hands, and, like, rub it on my face, like, smear it all over my face. And then I would go to class like that.
Hey, Meg, did I tell you how much of a good friend you are and how much your friendship means to me?
Did you just say that because you're now, like, scared that I'm going to come and kill you?
No.
I will. No. I'm joking. Yeah.
I feel like we would have made really good friends.
No, if you had known me we would have been the best of friends if we'd known each other from primary school.
Oh my god, we would have been like, oh my god, just imagine it.
Yeah. So, I was TJ, basically. Growing up, I was TJ, and if I had a friend who was turning into a vampire, I would be like, you would be a fool to waste this gift. And if you unvampire yourself, if you want to try and unvampire yourself, you're not my friend.
I mean, you try to lie, but like, see, the way to get out of a vampire is to bite me in the neck.
Yeah, definitely. That's how it works. Speaking of which, he does try to unvampire himself. And the other funniest part in this book, by the way, is he finds out that he has to sleep in a coffin full of his native soil.
Doesn't TJ call the funeral home?
Yeah, they call the funeral home and they ask how much a coffin costs. Which is so funny to me because I was imagining these like 10-year-old kids calling up a funeral home and using their mom's credit card to buy a coffin.
You know, when I was younger and stupider, I used to call up cemeteries and ask if they were haunted.
That's adorable. Oh, man. Great investigation skills. Ring, 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 ring. Hello. Yes, this is the cemetery. Hi, I'm a paranormal investigator. Do you have ghosts there? I don't know. Okay, hang up.
No, they would just be assholes. They'd be like, nope, can't talk about that. Bye, click.
Don't say can't talk about that. That makes you even more suspicious.
That's literally what they would say.
Oh, anyway, so they try to get a coffin, and then he tries to use the old refrigerator box in the basement.
Which is, no, it's all filled with clothing, of course.
Eventually, he just gives up and starts hanging upside down from his coat rack in the closet.
Yep. He's just like, I don't like this is stupid. And then all of a sudden, vampire teacher comes in.
Count Humphrey Ved.
The best name ever.
For some reason, I just imagined him being Judd Hirsch. I don't know why. It's something in the way that he talks reminded me of Judd Hirsch, and then I got the image in my head. Like, that's my fan cast for this movie. You've got Craig Roberts, the kid who was Robin in Young Dracula, as TJ. I didn't have anyone specific. Marina Diamonds as Emily, and Judd Hirsch as Count Ved.
Ryan Reynolds is Andrew.
Ryan Reynolds is Andrew, yes.
Ryan Reynolds still looks like a 14-year-old girl, so
He does. He has a little baby face.
So it's fine. No CG.
To go with that little baby hand from Deadpool.
Starring a baby hand from Deadpool.
That is the best scene in Deadpool, honestly, the little baby hand.
I love Humphrey in this. He's
so good.
Like, I really wish I had him as a teacher because he was like super patient.
I wish he was my dad.
Your dad is Voxen, what?
He's a cool dude.
Like, I love how like he's like super patient. Like, it's okay, you know.
Yeah.
You don't need to get the rabbit, but
then also he's still like really frustrated with him. Like, are you serious? You don't even have your fangs yet? My last fledgling had their fangs like a week after they turned, and you still not got their fangs.
And he makes puns too. Don't remember because he's like, don't worry, you'll get them on Thanksgiving.
Oh boy. And I think it describes like Andrew is just kind of like looking at him.
I feel like I just thought actually, I thought of the Count from Sesame Street as his teacher.
I definitely just thought of like Judd Hirsch in a Dracula costume.
I just thought,
it would have been very funny. Or you know what? Grandpa Munster also.
I'm fine with Grandpa Monster. I love Grandpa Monster.
So Count Ved tries to teach him how to do all the vampire stuff, like
turn to a bat,
turn into mist.
I didn't know that vampires could do that.
Oh, that's a pretty standard one, actually. Like Dracula could do it, and usually it's like wolves, rats, bats, and mist/smoke.
I knew about the smoke one. I just didn't think it was like a mist.
Some people say it's mist, some people say it's smoke, but it's like a non-corporeal form, basically.
I didn't understand. Actually, is it true them controlling the weather? Because why don't vampires just take over the world?
Dracula could control the weather, I think.
Because why don't vampires just take over the world with their storm powers?
Yeah, what? Okay, if vampire... This is why I'm glad that them controlling the weather is not, like, a really common part of the vampire,
mythos?
Like, pop culture mythos. Because if a vampire can control the weather, why don't they just always make it be cloudy so that they can go outside?
Or have a solar eclipse, because clearly they can do that. Also,
the other thing is, like, I don't understand why vampires, like, keep... In movies, vampires always... If there's, like, a movie with a vampire hunter in it, the vampire hunter, always wins because for some reason the vampires never think to just like get a gun. Because when you think about it, it's not hard to kill a human being. You don't, like, human beings can kill other human beings.
I thought it was the dead can't kill the living.
The dead can kill, they do, and that's why we need vampire hunters.
Oh wait, I'm thinking the Corpse Bride. That's stupid.
Oh, the dead can't marry the living in Corpse Bride. Oh, the dead can't kill the living either, but that's because Corpse Bride was a kid's movie, and the dead people in Corpse Bride were supposed to be, like, happy, nice spirits.
Old dead people.
Yeah, it was,
But yeah, so vampires can take over the world because they're literally X-Men.
Yeah, vampires could just easily take over the world if they put the effort in.
Like, but then again, like, you have, like, scenes where they're in the dance club with all the blood. Like Blade.
Yeah. What is it with, like, vampire movies and always having a scene at a dance? There's always a scene at either a club or, like, a party.
Yeah, where they all have, like, blood orgies.
Yeah, and the vampires, like, kill everybody.
I mean, I guess that's what, if vampires want to do that, vampires can do that, you know?
I guess they like to party, because
Andrew doesn't do this in this. He's like a super wet blanket.
Oh, he is. He's like the lamest vampire ever. Just eight-year-old me would have wanted to, like, kick him over and shove him in a locker.
And then been bitten.
Yeah, and then been bitten myself, because I deserve it more than he does.
Because Humphrey's like, he doesn't actually explain why he chose to be a vampire. He's just more like...
No, he just says, I've never made a mistake in 600 years. Well, boy, you did. You made one, and his name is Andrew.
And you could do the perfect one. Me. He's like, point to your neck. There you go.
Yeah, go. Why? I was gonna like. I was thinking that at some point he was gonna be like, "Oh, so you're not TJ? This is awkward." Like he meant to turn TJ.
I think that would have been funnier.
I thought that would have been funny if Count Ved was like, "Oh no, I meant to turn TJ. TJ's the one that's like a big old geek for vampires. He would have been a much better vampire than you. I have made a mistake."
No, he doesn't make actually, because then the thing is, he's like, well, because he makes the mistake of, because Andrew's trying to kill him, and he's like, in 600 years, I've only made no mistakes except for this one, but I guess this one doesn't count.
So one of the things that Andrew has to learn is how to hunt for blood, and he starts off trying to bite a rabbit, and the logic is that because he doesn't have his fangs, it'll be easier to bite into than a human. But once again, I gotta say that like I would think that a human being would be easier to bite than a rabbit, like because rabbits have lots of fur.
Well, maybe I think it's along the lines of like, if you bite a human, it's obvious that you bite a human.
Yeah, and because you don't have your fangs, it's gonna be like painfully like
messy.
It's gonna be really painful for the person being bitten, and they'll be like asleep, and then they'll wake up and there's like a little kid biting them,
like gnawing.
And then they just hit him with a broom until he goes back out the window.
Get away,
yeah.
Stupid!
Get on,
stupid,
get.
Stupid kids.
Stupid kids and your vampires.
I knew you should have been watching The Blades.
Yeah, we let our kids read the Twilights, and now they're vampires.
Oh shit! What if Andrew became a Twilight vampire? I'd be so sad for him.
Yeah, but at the same time, well, see, the thing about it, like, being a Twilight vampire wouldn't suck, but they suck because they're boring because they have no weaknesses.
No, because they can go outside and they can be like hunky-dory.
They can sparkle in the sunlight, and they don't have a lot of powers, but they also don't have a lot of weaknesses, so they're just like bland, unkillable people, really. That's what sucks about the Twilight vampires.
Kind of like vampires.
Is that just vampire with a Y?
Yeah, no, they're like the Daywalker vampires. Like they're like their assistant.
Oh, you said Dampier. I thought you said vampire.
I said
Dampier
vampire.
is a half vampire, half human. And they are also quite boring.
Because I remember seeing Blood Rain and hating that movie.
Is that the Uwe Boll one?
Yeah, that's the evil blood.
Uwe Boll, more like toilet bowl, am I right? So how does this book end, Zach?
So this book ends with TJ, Andrew, and Emily decides to help him out because, you know, they're going to figure out a way to solve Andrew not being a vampire. So TJ brings his little red wagon with all of his vampire books and to figure out the solution. And they figure out the only way to uncurse Andrew with the dark, I guess, gift is they have to chop off the head of Grandpa Monster and they have to shove garlic. Like, no, that's kind of metal. So like, no, okay, fine.
That's pretty badass for a Ghost of Fear Street book.
So they're like, fine, we'll just stake him. So Andrew tricks Grandpa Monster into going to this old creepy house because he's like, I hate TJ. TJ always made fun of me. He's a jerk. So they go there and TJ's like faking it. But then Grandpa Monster's like, don't worry, I put him under a trance. You could totally like bite him because Andrew's now got his fangs. All of a sudden, Emily comes in and she's like, Andrew, take the stake. And freaking Grandpa Monster's like, no, I'm going to kill you all because you're all a bunch of meanies and I'm never wrong. So then they get into like a huge old battle where Andrew like drop kicks Grandpa Monster through a window. And it's like, you're a foolish fool. You'll never kill me. And then, you know, the old cliche of the clouds parting.
Yeah, the clouds part and the sun comes out right as the vampire's about to attack them back.
At 3 a.m.
Which is what I, like, one of my most hated vampire movie tropes, because it's the laziest way to end your vampire movie. And it was literally, like, it is the laziest way to end a vampire movie, because the whole reason that trope, like, the start of that trope was they made that the ending of Nosferatu because Bram Stoker's family was gonna sue that studio's asses off.
Well, because they did, and because...
They ripped off... Nosferatu is a wholesale ripoff of Dracula. And at that point, Dracula wasn't public domain yet, so Bram Stoker's family went after the studio that made Nosferatu. And so then they made them change all of the names of the characters, and they added an ending where the sun comes up and Count Orlok dies.
Yeah, there's actually still prints where it does say Count Dracula, not Orlok.
So that trope was invented to avoid legal trouble.
Yeah, because actually they were trying to destroy every copy, so that would have actually been a lost film. But then World War II happened.
Exactly. Then World War II happened, and German Expressionism as a film movement sort of died out.
And a lot of those movies were preserved because they were smuggled out of the country to America.
Yeah, by the directors who fled to go work in Hollywood.
Yep. So that's the little movie history.
I wrote my thesis on German Expressionism, so...
I love German Expressionism. Grandpa Monster poofs, turns into dust. His fangs, for some reason, are still there.
That's very creepy to me. Like, all of him turns into dust except his teeth. That's a creepy image of just like a pile of dust and some teeth.
Well, bone fragments and teeth don't really disintegrate when you burn.
Yeah, but it's not like he burns up. He just kind of like disintegrates.
What a world, what a world.
So
it ends with Andrew is just like, yeah, I could be in sunlight. This is awesome. I'm not a vampire anymore. Emily's like, high five, I'll see you later, bro. And TJ and Andrew were like walking on the bridge and having fun. And then all of a sudden, Andrew's fangs come out. And he's like, don't worry, TJ. We'll be best friends forever. Freeze frame as he's about to attack him.
this is the ending that I wanted for like the Lost Boys.
And then see, there's like the freeze frame of like Andrew attacking TJ.
Yeah, and then like the chill like 80s music plays and they've got like TJ and Andrew were both vampires for the rest of eternity.
Or I feel like it'd be like pop music, like Huey Lewis in the News start playing.
Somehow we always end up making like a freeze frame Where Are They Now for like every book that we read on this show.
Well, yeah, because they're the best.
Yeah.
So Emily became super like smart and actually got a real pearl necklace.
I hope Emily became a vampire. I hope they all became vampires. I hope everyone is a vampire.
The whole world actually becomes Daybreakers, the movie.
Yes.
I think that's about as much time because the sun's coming up, Meg. And
Oh no,
you know
we're
how-
about to turn into dust because Oh, actually, on my end, the sun's just going down.
Well, sun's coming up on my side, so hurry. Howdy, folks. This is the part of the episode where we're going to pick the random book for next week. This week is going to be a random, like, Goosebumps knockoff. So I got to pick it. Are you ready, Meg?
Yes.
This is Shadow Zone, The Undead Express. Next stop for Zack is Transylvania.
Oh my god, his name is Zack, too! It's a sign, we have to read it.
I picked it randomly out my shelf, and I guess the theme is vampires this month.
If there's a character in this book called Meg, I will die.
Well, if that happens, I'm burning this book because it's evil.
Well, we gotta read it to the end because we gotta find out whether or not we live.
I have to find out if I live. Where can they reach you, Meg?
You can follow me at Meg Tuden on Twitter. That's at MEGTUTEN or sodasodabanana.tumblr.com. You can also check out my other podcast, The Trivial Terror Show, which you can find at trivialterror.podbean.com. It's also on iTunes, and you can tweet at that show at Trivial Terror on Twitter.
You can find me at Suited41 on Twitter. If you want to find our show, Nightmare on Fear Street, you can tweet at us at Night Fear Street, or you can email the show at nightmareandfearstreet@gmail.com. Or you can find any of our exciting other content on our web zone, ghoulishfancies.com.
Ask for your parents' permission before using the internet.
Yes, I'm Zach.
I'm Meg.
And stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.